Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Popcast on the Rocks, another spoiler cast for a new show this time. That's going to be exciting. I am John, as always, and this is Andrea, as always. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy Wednesday.
Yeah.
How's your week been going so far? Hump day. God, I used to love those
Uh,
commercials.
I know we've already talked about those commercials. Yeah. Yeah, it's going well. Got
Okay.
some got some rain today,
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm glad that it held off. I had softball yesterday, so that would have been a
mm,
pretty major bummer had this rain happened yesterday because it would have been
right.
right over my game time. And it was not like nice, scattered showers. It was like I'm just gonna bear
Yeah.
down. So
Any home runs? Big
no,
big
no.
plays?
Chris got close though, actually. He hit a nice one out there that, was we thought was going over for a minute, but just fell shy. Got a couple catches, so that felt pretty good. I did, however, start the first game in a very spectacular fashion where I completely misjudged a catch. It was like one of those balls that was hit like almost straight up. So I spent,
Mm.
like ages and ages waiting for it to
Oh
come
yeah.
down and like second guessing myself and being like, oh, I should move over here. And ended up totally just like botching that catch, and the ball to put point to it uh tipped off my glove and landed on my
Mm.
ankle.
Oh.
And so now I've got like a nice bruise on my ankle, and I've even got like laces marks running down my ankle. That's how hard it
Oh,
hit.
weird. I
Um
can't even imagine the physics of that. Right now,
yeah,
this is
I
like
know.
president shooting here
I
and just
know.
bullets going different ways, and I don't know, like how does a
Yeah.
softball do this?
I know, I know. It just had to be like all the things that lined up perfectly. But yeah, it was
Huh.
definitely like a nice reminder of like my total fumbling of that first play. So
Well, I
um
I remember that being trickier, pop fly kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, They always said just stare at the ball right above your glove.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, just didn't quite manage it, but the rest of the game I caught everything that came my way. So that was I think I was trying to like show everybody that I was not totally incompetent out there. So hopefully that worked.
yeah. Now tell me, because I should know this, but I don't. There are different gloves for softball. Yes, there are softball gloves. They're larger.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, all right. I've always had a baseball glove and never played softball in my life. But
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't know what I play with. Um,
okay,
because I've had the same glove since I was, I think, like 14 years old.
okay,
And it's well broken in.
yeah,
But yes, I do believe there are different gloves. There are different gloves for, I mean, if you really want to get like specialized into it, there are different gloves for like infield, outfield. Like you can
mm.
go crazy with, kind of what you want to play with, but ultimately it's what you're comfortable with.
I think I've bought two gloves ever in my life. One
Sure.
when I was very small, playing, you know, summer
Mhm.
baseball, and then one a little bit later, and that's the only one I've ever needed. So,
Sure.
but
Yeah, Chris tried to get me to give up my old glove and get a new one because my old one, I mean, to be fair, is quite old. And is also like not genuine leather. It's like
oh, okay.
it's like faux leather. It's not like
Mhm.
pleather, so it's not like, cracking or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely not like high quality. But I'm just so
Sure.
used to it. It's just like so
Yeah.
perfectly suited to me that I tried it. I tried a new glove for like 2 games, just couldn't hack it. So I'm back to my old one.
Fits like a glove is a saying for a reason.
Ah, you got it. So,
Um, well, to let people know what's going on with this show, again, another spoiler cast. Last week we wrapped up the first season of Doom Patrol on
mhm,
HBO Max. And the intent, I believe, was to go right into Doom Patrol season 2. But given
mhm.
the timing of show releases, should we like this new show, it will line up perfectly for season 2.
Indeed.
So we'll start out with some news like normal. And in the latter half of the show, we will get to The Boys season 1, episodes 1 and 2 from Amazon. So we'll get there later. That'll be spoilery. You can stick with us for now. If you haven't seen that, we'll be not spoilery. Do you have any amazing cocktails or anything today?
I don't. I just have a classic, honestly. I've got a G&T going on
Okay.
right here. So
Nice.
cheers to that. We kind of fell in the middle of two like drinking holidays, also two like more unusual drinking holidays. We've got Rum Day on the 16th, and then we had on the 9th World Baijiu Day. So
yeah. So I was gonna make the drink kind of how that I have now, regardless, but my
okay.
my alcohol of choice was not fixed. So your addition of World Baijiu Day influenced me. It's
Nice.
another Asian alcohol that I related, I guess, supposedly, in my looking up of Baijiu quickly, because I have
Sure.
not had that.
Yeah, I hadn't either. I had to look it up.
Yeah. So I have added the Japanese spirit, shochu, to my young coconut.
Look at you, fancy man. My goodness.
Yeah. So it took me a bit to break this open. Really, if I was going to do this much, I would just get a new drill bit,
Yeah.
keep it clean, have a food one.
Yep.
And that would be the way to do this. But
yep.
yeah, so I just cracked this open, drank a little bit of the coconut water out of it, and then put in some shochu. So
is that all you got in there?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Yep. All right.
I would have put
going
rum
for the
in
real
here,
thing.
Because coconut and rum, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
But I'm still out of rum. So
okay. And I still am not a fan of rum, so I would not have gone that route, but
no kind of rum.
I mean it's fine. I just have never like been excited about it. Do you know what I mean? Like I do not enjoy Captain Morgan. Like I've had it and the spice rum is just not for me. But I mean I've had like clear rum and stuff like that and it's been fine. It's just like I said, not exciting for me.
To me, white rum is spectacular for I like to have pineapple juice around or something like that. Any sort of tropical-esque juice, some sort of fruit, I just think is perfect with a white rum.
Okay.
It's not for the appreciation of the taste of the rum. It just disappears and becomes this delicious summer cocktail kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's like the place Psycho Susie's, they have their
yeah.
Like that's how they make everything so potent and crazy.
That's true.
It's like
that's true.
Here's a bunch of tropical fruit with a pile of rum.
Very true. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I quite enjoy Psycho Susie's and their drinks, so I suppose I enjoy rum that way. It's just not usually something I reach for in my house.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's my show and tell here for.
I like it. Very fancy.
For anyone that's like not at the screen right now or something and listening, I have a coconut. I think I said that maybe. I broke open a coconut. I'm drinking out of that. So, news things. Do you have opinions on some of these things here? I mean, it was kind of a big week, I think, for.
I agree.
Some news topics. As a gamer.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite being delayed until next year.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That was a big move, if not entirely unsurprising. If I can double negative that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was less than impressed with the Halo gameplay that we saw at Xbox event. So I'm not unsurprised that they're like, we've gotten some mixed reviews. This is our big flagship game. We're going to take some time and work on it. I think that's the right call. I mean, it sucks in terms of, it's not going to be ready to sell with the console. But I mean, you'd rather have people be happy with the game than rush it out.
Yep. Well, I was telling some people what this reminds me of is the other year for E3, they made a really big deal of Crackdown 3. They had Terry Crews out there. They have him in the game. He's shouting and hooping and hollering. He's got like in the trailer for it and like a big deal. And then the game is like early access or demo or something. It doesn't look all that great in what they show. And then they delay it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they delayed it again, but it finally came out and it still wasn't any good. So
well,
I hope
hopefully
that doesn't happen with Halo.
Yeah, I was gonna say hopefully that's not here. Mostly, well, I mean mostly for the players, but a little bit also for Microsoft.
Yeah, it's just gonna be, it's really interesting because, like I mentioned the other day that Phil Spencer said he sees his competition really as like Amazon and Google. And you're like, well, yeah, but right now his competition is still Sony.
Yeah, he's looking a little too far ahead in the future there.
Yeah, and a person can look at this all different ways, I guess. But to me, it's a bold move that their play here is. We're just upgrading our hardware occasionally. It's not really a new generation every so often. We're just going to give you more powerful hardware and we're going to try to keep you playing, the games playable on as many things for as long as we can kind of thing. And that's, something to praise, I guess. It's a different take on how to do things, but it doesn't change the reality that Sony is going to sell a lot of boxes this winter. Like they're going to move a lot of product.
That's
right. Microsoft probably isn't.
Right.
Because there's no incentive for people to buy those things. If they already have any Microsoft, they're even where you don't have that case, they're going to be launching xCloud. You can play on your tablet or whatever, if I feel that's a subpar experience than playing on a 65-inch television, but whatever, like anyone can jump in and that's great. But you're not gonna, you're gonna lose the mind share again, like in the gaming space, you're losing mind share. And ultimately, again, I don't know if Microsoft, like Satya Nadella, cares. I think their play is like, look, Phil, you're important. You can do this stuff because we know our cloud services are going to power the back end of all kinds of gaming going forward in the future. So we need to work on this and keep it moving. But I don't know. I just still think it's going to sting when they can't sell a console because they don't have anything for you to buy that console for.
Yep. Yeah, and unfortunately, even if they don't want it to be, that's going to be the story. Right. Because I think there's such newsworthiness and such, clickbait and such like headline grabbing attention around, you've got two consoles that are coming out. Of course you want to naturally pit them against each other and like see how they do. And when the PS5 outsells the Xbox, I'm saying when, because I do believe it's going to happen. Yeah. When it happens, like that's great, like newsworthy clickbait headlines. It just is like people love to read about that kind of stuff. So you're losing the message, even if that's not your focus.
It could be a different story potentially if you had this army of store employees across the world that was on your side, like understood the value proposition you're offering.
Right.
But that was kind of like what they needed for Windows Phone to succeed in some part, and they didn't have. They needed people to go into a carrier and for the workers there to be like, oh yeah, have you seen this new Windows Phone? This is awesome. It's so easy to get this stuff done and blah, 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 blah. Instead it would be like, here's an iPhone or here's a Galaxy. And that's what it is, and you go into Walmart, no one's going to sit there and explain to the parent buying their kid a new system, well, look here, if you buy this system, which is cheaper and for only $15 a month, your kid is going to have access to over 100 games that keep rotating and like being added to all the time. Great, amazing value. No one's going to do that.
Right.
So parents aren't going to know about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're going to want to push the pricier console because they see the benefit from that.
Well, and if nothing else, you have the big template. What if Avengers was only available on one Blu-ray player? You could only buy one kind of Blu-ray player to watch the Avengers movie. That one would play. Even if you have way more things to play on the other thing for cheaper, the story is Avengers.
Right.
And you don't have it.
It's name recognition, yeah.
You know, I don't know. I should look into, I want to know more. What are the buying, like, how do most people game? You know, do most people pick one system and they kind of upgrade every generation and they just get one and then they do some gaming on their phone? Like, is that most people, you know, if they have a console at all?
Sure.
How many people buy multiples? How many people are really using a PC and a it just, I don't know.
So. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to find every type of gamer out there. Like every type of person that you just listed exists, I'm sure. But yeah, who's the majority? Like what, you know, what kind of gamer is quote unquote the average gamer that you're looking to sell to?
It's hard to judge because, you know, I like to use you maybe as more of an example, you or Chris or something, you know, like, because, you know, you guys aren't sitting there getting through 10 games a year, you know, you're not running through a catalog of games. You have a game or two games that you put time into when you can. I think that's a lot of people. So they don't need to have dozens of games all the time. They're not going from month after month, you know, new game to new game. Right. You need quality game. You're going to invest your time in when you have that time because it's split up amongst other hobbies and activities as well.
Exactly.
You know? Like I listen to the gaming community. I see Ashley. Ashley is game to game to game to game. That's what she does. So she'll get through many games in a year. But that is a vast minority of people. And you can't ultimately do mass sales based on that clientele.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you obviously want options for that type of gamer because you don't want them to just like feel like they've played all the games and they're done and they're bored. But yeah, I mean, I would probably say that somewhere in the middle of Ashley and Chris and I is your average gamer. Sure. You know, I mean, probably we're probably on the lower end just because we do have so many other extracurriculars and hobbies and things that, you know, take up our time. So, I mean, I would probably say somebody is maybe getting through like 5 games, like quality games a year is not like a terrible estimate. I mean, even maybe 5 might be a little high, but like 3 to 4, somewhere in there.
I bet they play that many, but not complete that.
Yeah, many. Maybe not get through all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you dabble. Okay. Well, anyways, it's going to be interesting. It's kind of interesting because we have 3 of the, I think froze for a second. We have 3 players in the space here yet, and they're all doing it very differently.
Yes.
You know, for a while, Nintendo and Sega were basically kind of going back to back, head-to-head competition. And then Sega dropped out, and Nintendo started like be their own drum, and PlayStation and Xbox went at it. And now they're diverging again. Yep. So it's interesting. We have they're trying to serve the same entertainment market media, but from 3 very different ways.
Yes. So. Yeah. I mean, who comes out on top? Or is it just that we should sort of forget this, you know, pitting one against the other and just be appreciative that they're serving the gaming community in these different ways because there are different types of gamers, you know?
Yes.
Is maybe absolutely. That we need to just like appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, you know, you don't like stop critiquing people or saying, you know, listen, I think somebody is doing X thing better, but maybe they're just not in such direct competition all the time.
No, I think ultimately it's great for gamers. The only reason the question still exists is because, like I say, I don't think most people that are into gaming enough that they're going to buy a gaming console buy more than one per generation.
I agree.
And so that is a consumer choice then.
Yeah.
What do you pick? You know?
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo's has been in the good position for a bit, where they are the extra console. So like they're going to sell a lot of them because you know, it's valued enough. There's enough lock-in from their own IP that you a lot of people end up with two consoles because of Nintendo's playing their own funny game.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you're having two consoles, it's usually not like a PlayStation and an Xbox. It's like Xbox and and
so
Nintendo.
Even if you're not tribal about it, you pick. You
do. Yeah. You choose the sides.
Yeah. All right. We'll go through this one quickly, unless you got big comments on it. Cyberpunk Night City Wire did another. It was the second part of that this week, and it wasn't very long, but I got to see quite a bit, and I appreciated their behind the scenes music stuff. I was like that, so that's fun. Nothing really is going to change your mind at this point. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't really need to see more. So
yeah, you're already sold.
Yeah. Yep. Quickly, Tron 3 has been confirmed. We were talking about that a little while ago, how that was
that's right.
Works, but it sounds like that's really moving forward now.
All right.
With Jared Leto possibly attached. Some people are happy, some people are not about that. So
I am reserved. I am cautiously reserved. I mean, that's I'll say enough to say that's not an automatic draw for me.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it's I guess I'm indifferent to the matter.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy / big sad news, and I can kind of bundle a number of things in with this. It's just a shift of the entertainment industry here.
Yeah.
Warner Media has fired 800 people. So that's too bad there.
Yeah. That was awful to hear about.
They're really like, it looks like they're starting to see the writing on the wall. You know, they understand how streaming is everything right now. The subscription fee is everything. And so they're changing leadership roles around. Whole bunch of people in the comics biz are going away. They're de-emphasizing the physical prints of comics.
Right.
Basically just mostly graphic novels. They're pushing hard on digital purchase of comics instead. They folded in DC Universe, as we talked that they should.
Yep.
Now they have HBO Max.
Right call.
Yep. And I recommend everybody go take a look at Beyond the Trailers video on this again on YouTube, because she breaks down a lot of different elements. But do you have thoughts on this shakeup?
Yeah, I mean, not entirely unexpected, if still sad. You know, obviously, I think changes needed to be made. I think DC Comics, DC Universe was a little bloated, so perhaps, you know, things needed to be shaken up and these changes and cuts needed to be made, but that doesn't mean I can't still feel for 800 people being fired. That's and I mean, it's unfortunately not all just like trimming the fat. It's unfortunately at some levels you're just gonna have to let go of talented people because it's, you know, your company isn't sustainable this way. But it's not entirely unexpected. Like I said, other companies are shifting, of course, towards, you know, streaming is all. So everybody's just got to keep up and kind of keep up with the Joneses here. And the Joneses in this case being Disney. I think they're they're the next, I think, poised to be streaming giant. I don't think they're quite there, but I think they're well on their way to some solid domination. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're growing, and some of the numbers were spoken of in this with HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
Only managed to gather a fraction of
Mm-hmm.
the subscribers that Disney Plus has,
Yeah.
and given it's newer,
Yeah.
so has time.
It's yeah. I'm hesitant to I kind of brand HBO Max as a flop quite yet. Like you said, it's newer. It's just such a different target audience right now anyway. I mean, they might expand some of their like more child friendly or mainstream programming. But it's a little bit of a different audience. They had a confused rollout. I mean, that's not just like happenstance and oh, I feel bad, you had some bad luck. Like
Yeah.
they bungled it. But now that things are picking up, becoming clearer, and I think once there's a clear idea of how we're transitioning to HBO Max rather than like HBO Go and HBO Now, and like, do you have, what do you have access to? Once they kind of roll it in all into just one streaming platform, I think that's going to really bring up their numbers just to make everything less confused.
Yep. And I think they should work on being more, I guess, like Amazon,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because Warner being so gigantic and owning so many things, there's no reason you can't do bundles that are
Yeah.
a streaming, uh, like television,
Yes.
HBO Max, get your AT&T cellular service, just your DC Comics. I mean, you go and look. The other day we looked at the Amazon Prime rewards,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of stuff and a lot of things that a lot of people maybe don't use, but there's a lot of free books and comics
Yep.
that come along with that change out Audible books as well. You get
Mm-hmm.
free unlimited photo backup that's
Yes.
just included, and along with obviously the shipping and then the Amazon Originals access and all that stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's quite a package.
Mm-hmm.
And a company like Warner is big enough they can offer something, obviously without the online shopping element,
Right.
something pretty competitive, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree, I would say with about 90% of, beyond the trailer, what she was talking about, like kind of that same thing, get a bigger umbrella, for your services and maybe, do it kind of like an Amazon Prime. The only thing I didn't agree with was the names she suggested. Because I
Oh,
think
I
if you,
don't
if you,
remember what those
well,
were.
she sort of like settled on, she thought it should be called Warner Plus, and I think
Oh,
that's too much like Disney Plus. Like we don't need to have
yeah,
that
I know.
like
Well,
direct reference to
this is
each
a
other.
very unoriginal industry, so
I
yeah.
know. I think keeping whatever, like call it Warner Max, whatever, I don't care. Like, but I don't think I either think that they should do this sort of thing now while everything is sort of shifting, everything is still a little bit confused, HBO Max
Yeah.
hasn't like established itself, or you're going to have to wait a really long time to do this
Yep.
because in the future people are just going to be getting their legs under them with like how this all works, and it's going to be streamlined, and then you can't just like yank that away again and create more confusion
Yep.
because then people are going to be like, oh, it's always changing, like I really hate this, like I can't ever figure
Yeah.
it out. So do it
Yep.
now before the dust settles, or you're going to have to wait a long time after.
Yep. I still think that a mistake is having like AT&T sort of um, service for television, that streaming, plus having HBO Max separate is kind of a mistake.
Yeah.
Like you had live television with all the on-demand options that you get together in one thing. It's the same as Disney and Hulu being separate. Disney
Yeah.
owns like a big chunk of Hulu. These things should almost just be on one and be, you could still split payment up if you want. You just
Mhm.
have access to more if you are paying for it all then.
Well, I mean, it kind of works that way when you get that like Disney, ESPN, Hulu bundle thing.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
honestly think they just need to do a better job of selling that
Yeah.
because it's really not that terribly different than just buying Disney Plus. I mean, I know
Yep.
it's more expensive, but it's not terribly more expensive, to be honest, for
Yep.
what you get, I think, for that kind of price. So,
I'd love to know the numbers on this too. How many people swap between different streaming services all the time? I
yeah.
feel like our age that kind of really came up in this, as a shifting climate and all this,
Mhm.
um, jump all over the place all the time, you know, and turn on and off Stars and Showtime and Disney and Netflix and whatever, but how many people do that? Or how many people just like,
Right.
I have Amazon Prime, that's what I watch,
Yeah.
and that's enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still feel like Netflix is sort of a staple that
Mhm.
people have, like
Automatic.
yeah, like people have Netflix and something, but
Mhm.
I definitely feel the tide shifting around that. I
Okay.
feel like Netflix has been around for so long, people are so used to it. I don't know. I mean, and Netflix has done a great job of like coming up with new content, so I don't think they've been like just sitting around being stale and being like, "Oh, like we can just rely on these people." But I think they've got like a solid base. They've got just people who just like keep renewing because they're interested enough in Netflix, and then they've got new customers, but that doesn't mean that, there won't be a point where somebody else takes it over.
Yep. Yep. Well, anyways, always changing environments in the streaming world. Big
Yeah.
shakeup at Warner Media,
Mhm.
seeing the shift towards the future and how comic books are done. Good luck
Yeah.
to the people that lost their jobs there.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully they can find something.
yeah. And speaking of that, we got two other movie kind of things. So
Mhm.
Disney is really like it sounds like put their foot down now and are maybe tired of losing money, I guess. And we talked about that the other day, them putting Mulan out. They're going to do that. But they're redone how we may not get this stuff in theaters anymore. Like theaters, there's been a shakeup, some different court rulings. So Disney can technically now own and run their own theaters if they want. So if they
Mhm.
want to have exclusive things to their own screens, they can do that.
Yep.
It's sort of loosening the vice grip that the movie theater companies have. Like they've been protected by a lot of different regulations, it seems.
Mhm.
And a lot of that's maybe going away.
Mhm.
So we're seeing more and more it's going to be hitting streaming only. And you found this other movie here, huh? That's
Yeah, Sarah Paulson's Run is going to go straight to Hulu. It's going to skip a theatrical release, and Hulu nabbed the rights to put it on its streaming platform. Um,
nice.
so yeah, so I know it's not like the biggest title. It's not like something we're instantly, recognizing. Um, but it's still a shift. And it's not
Yep.
just like Disney owned, kind of thing where like Disney owns Mulan and they're saying we're going to put it out on our streaming service. Hulu didn't make this movie. It's like a full studio movie that is now moving to a streaming platform for its release.
Yep.
So I think that's really interesting to see if this is, sort of like a trickle effect, where like Disney is the first to, say like we're going to put out our movies on our platforms, but the rest of the entertainment industry is kind of rushing to be like, oh, like should we try this too? Like Disney is going to do this. Do we really, feel like we've got the green light to skip theaters altogether? So
Hmm.
so I think this is really interesting. And I mean, it's a not again, not like the most recognizable. It's not like we're getting, an Avengers movie or something crazy like that, but still like a solid, well headlined movie that is moving to streaming. So,
Yep.
very interested to see
Yeah.
how that goes for Hulu.
I think it's going to keep going. And I mean, with Disney talking how they're not going to do physical releases anymore, except
Right.
for the big things.
Right. The big
You're not
classic.
going to be able, yeah, you're not, if Frozen 3 comes out, you'll be able to get that on physical copy. But all these other things, other smaller projects, it's not happening. And
Right.
they're going to make more money that way.
Mm-hmm.
And theoretically, we can get content quicker,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see. But
Yeah.
it's a changing.
Yeah, they're really gunning for parents. I mean, truly. Disney
For
is
parents.
yeah, absolutely. They're I mean, for their streaming service, I mean, they're really gunning for parents because kids want those movies. Like, and if they can't get the physical copies, where else do you go? Like, I definitely foresee if parents are kind of like maybe averse or not ready to spend the dough on Disney Plus or whatever, I see Christmas presents, Disney Plus gift cards, 6 months of access from grandma and grandpa, here's
Yeah.
all your favorite, you know, streaming movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're
Now
gonna
you can
get
watch.
they're
Yeah.
gonna get families some way somehow. And yeah, this is the way they're doing it.
Yeah. You can get your 6-month gift card,
Hmm.
and your little kid can watch Frozen 2 on repeat for all of that 6 months,
Forever and
and
ever and
then
ever.
they'll maybe be done with it by then.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. And then just one other story quickly that I'm
Hmm.
personally excited about before we get on to the boys.
Hmm.
Um, the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, is back
Ah,
as the Doctor.
what?
So
I completely
this is
missed this.
this
What?
is
What?
not th-
What?
this is not as exciting as it is in your head right now. But it's still cool. Okay, so Big Finish. Have you heard of Big Finish Productions or
Yeah,
whatever?
I have.
They're the ones that do all the audio books and adventures and stuff for Doctor Who.
Okay.
And Eccleston has agreed to resume his role as the Doctor in, I think, 12 episodes of a Big Finish production.
Ah, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to really get into the Eighth Doctor's newer adventures on there, but they're so
Hmm.
expensive. Well,
Hmm.
maybe this will be the thing that, is going to make me look at it again. And
Sure.
um, so I think
Yeah,
it's cool with all the drama that went down, him like being
absolutely.
bitter with the whole process or whatever.
Yeah, I'm shocked
It's
that
cool to
he's
see him back.
yeah, I'm shocked that he's doing this because yeah, I mean, bitter I think is putting it mildly because he was quite unhappy with everything that went down creatively during his tenure and for his exit. Um yeah, I'm excited because I liked him as the Doctor. I really did. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't ever be upset about him leaving because him leaving gave us David Tennant and he's obviously my favorite. But that doesn't mean I'm not sad that Eccleston did leave. You know what I mean? Like
Obviously your favorite. Like it's an obvious
obviously,
choice. Yeah.
obviously my favorite. But yeah, I mean, if in an ideal world we would have had several seasons of each because I really did love that kind of first reboot and he's the first new Doctor.
Yep.
So there's definitely something that kind of like tugs at your heartstrings a little bit with him being the first in the new series. But
Yep.
that's awesome. I'm glad he's back.
Yeah. I mean, it's it just makes me reminisce of the good old days, the good old
Yeah,
days of Doctor Who.
yeah.
And I mean, it's cool. It's canon. I wonder what he's going to have for creative say then. Like if that was part of the deal,
I
you
imagine
know?
it must have been. I mean, given his previous experience, there must
Mm.
have been. I mean, either some leeway given or more, kind of maybe strict boundaries set so that he doesn't think like, oh, I have input here, and the studio's thinking like, no, you don't. I imagine
Yep.
some sort of combination of those two, like more creative leeway and also like, here's where, your leeway ends.
Someday I would like to really know the full story. I want to
Yeah,
know
I agree.
what the disagreement was, what was, like why was it so awful?
Right.
And then what enticed you to come back for this? And, did someone write a set of stories and say, hey, we'd love to have you back for this? Like, what do you think? You approve, and then worked with them on it or whatever. I just would like to know that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be fascinating.
Yep. All right. So, spoiler time. Covered the news of the week. I ranted about gaming stuff enough. We're getting on to The Boys, based on a comic book. We're doing a lot of comic book based things. We did Doom Patrol before. We talked about the Old Guard on the last full episode. So now The Boys, season 1, episodes 1 and 2. Season 2 is coming out next month. So we're going to try to get through this.
Yes.
Yep. So we can watch that as it releases with everybody. So
yeah.
Did you know anything about this series going in? Heard things about it?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was popular enough that I heard things about it. It wasn't on a scale of, nothing to Game of Thrones. It probably wasn't quite Game of Thrones level, but it was definitely up there. I heard a lot of people talking about this show. And so I knew some basic, premise in the terms of, and I mean, you can gather premise from, the ads and commercial spots that were run. But I knew that it was a world where, superheroes were normal and just sort of out there in the open. And I knew a premise of a group of guys working to kind of show society the real sides to these superheroes, that they weren't just like, oh, shiny, yay, like squeaky clean action figures. They're real people with vices, and they mess up and they need to be held accountable. So I knew kind of like the basic setup of everything. I knew I had like a rough idea of the cast, but I really didn't have much, beyond that.
Yep. Well, with that that bit of foreknowledge, what did you think going into it now, having watched a little bit?
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by the start of the show. It's definitely got a feel to it that I've come to sort of recognize as Amazon Prime kind of style, just having watched like The Hunters, which is of course not like the same thing, but I just noticed some sort of like similar shooting styles, similar like ways that they introduce storylines, ways that they introduce characters. Like I'm kind of getting like a feel for that Amazon Prime style. Really enjoyed it. I had Chris sit down and watch it with me because I just felt like he was gonna like it too. And he was like hooked right from the get-go. Like he also felt like this was going to be like sort of Watchmen-esque, maybe a little bit more straightforward, because Watchmen is a little more intellectual and sort of like delves deeper into like, questions of theology, morality. Like I think this show does too, but I think Watchmen just like takes an extra step with it. But yeah, he was very into this show right away, as was I. Like I just thought it was like a great setup. Like we got right into like, here are the superheroes, here's what's happening, here's our main characters, like boom, we're in.
So what did you think? So this is obviously where, as you mentioned here, how superheroes are part of life now. Like these super abled people are everywhere, and they're in our media, and it's a whole big system.
Yeah.
Do you feel that this is more realistic? I was kind of talking to Ashley about it a little bit, thinking like, did we just get X-Men, and because it was such a good setup, like, hey, they're different and therefore we fear them, they're a threat to us kind of thing, and we're afraid of the unknown, all that just kind of stuck, okay, so we're going to keep the secret identity that's been going along for a long time. It's always kind of this thing that's been invented where there's the fear of what if they knew who you were, and society is going to ostracize you and treat you meanly.
Sure.
Or is this maybe more realistic in a modern day?
The problem I think with that question for this show is that they skip any sort of middle step. Do you know what I mean? Like we're introduced to this world where superheroes are tremendously, valued, loved by society, idolized. They work at a corporation. They've got a freaking office building, they've
Yep.
got lunch boxes and merchandising. And this is all really, fascinating. But we missed like every sort of middle step
Yep.
between, because of course the premise of this doesn't introduce superheroes as just always existing. And like back in the 1700s people started coming out and blah blah blah. No, we just like jump right into modern day. They're
Yep.
here, it's fine.
Hmm.
So I think there's definitely still some legitimacy to, you want to keep your secret identity, and, you can fear people's reactions about, you coming out, because we don't see any of that here. And we don't see, maybe the super abled, as they're called,
Yep.
coming out, and, maybe people reacting with that fear initially. And now it's just this sort of like, farming system that they have for superheroes. But I mean,
Yep.
clearly it couldn't have always existed like that.
Right. Yep. I was just struck by this. I kept getting these moments like, oh yeah, it would be like that. That would totally happen. Or, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's disgusting. And this is how it would be.
Yes.
I mean,
It's
they talk
very
about the
real,
little,
I think.
yeah,
But yeah, they skip all the introductory steps to setting up this entire like complex system. But I think the system itself feels very real and very accurate for what it would be right now.
hero pageants, putting your
Oh,
little girl in
totally.
hero pageants all dressed. Just, ah,
How
yeah.
how do you judge that talent competition? Like
I know. Like, is it
what do you do?
confidence or just like who can
Right.
melt the bad guy's face faster?
Right.
I'm like,
Right. And if everybody has different powers, like how could you
I
compare them?
know.
Yeah.
It's got to be like, I mean, see, but that makes more sense to be like Ninja Warrior or something and be an obstacle course. And so
Hmm.
you go and
Sure.
who can use your abilities to beat that the fastest. But as a like a pageantry kind of thing, I don't know. You show off your talent, I guess,
Yeah.
I want world peace and here's my skill. So,
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, when, they were kind of introducing that, I was like, totally, I see this, like I did the pageant circuit. And, you get like the names in there, like the people who always win, and they're always just like, oh, she's going to win. She always wins. Like, so
yep.
realistic.
Yep. Well, I wanted to call
Mm.
out to me was like the central thing that I'll probably continually harp on that I
Sure.
love so much about this show thus far
Sure.
is I always complain that um, power corrupts people in just in the smallest of ways. Like you look at a smaller fraction of just like trolls online. Why do a
Hmm.
lot of people troll someone? Well, they're going to go out there and they're going to, by typing a few things on their keyboard,
Hmm.
they can elicit a powerful reaction
Hmm.
from another individual, and now they feel powerful. I mean, you can call it whoever you want, like feel good about it, but they controlled you. They got you to jump or to scream or to whatever, be
Hmm.
happy or to be angry, whatever. And that's a feeling that like hits people deep down inside, and it goes on to all levels of everything.
Hmm.
We deal with if you ever deal with a local politician, or county, the county commissioner or a school board member or something like that. These people, especially in like even it's the smallest towns, we have it out here or whatever, and they just think so much of themselves. It's like, dude, you influence 300 people, okay? You're nothing, but they get such big heads. So to me, this is exactly, I don't know why I didn't think of this before and like harp on it more. Of
Hmm.
course, superheroes, of course,
Hmm.
they have the ultimate power.
Hmm.
These assholes are going to think they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want,
Yeah.
because they have the ultimate power trip. Now we see it in here from the superheroes top to bottom, and we see it with the politicians involved. And like, I
Right.
just think that's so true to life,
Right.
and I'm never going to stop harping on it.
No, I agree, and it's an interesting question to explore here too, because like you say, of course superheroes would think this because they have power and they have the ultimate power and who can do what to them. But it is interesting that they still sort of agree to be part of this superhero system,
Yep.
abide by some sort of rules from human, regular human handlers. I don't know what you like, non-soups, whatever, not super
Hmm.
able. Um, but they agree to follow these rules. They can still be intimidated and controlled to some degree by non superheroes. So I do think that that's an interesting um, angle for the show to explore because, yeah, you're superheroes, but you don't always remember that, or you don't always think about it, or you can still be influenced like a human being. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you don't like even though you have superpowers, you don't always think to use them in certain situations with certain people because they just seem to have the power, even if it's not like a manifested power. Like I'm thinking
Yep.
specifically of Madeline and Homelander. That is a very, very interesting dynamic that we're really introduced to in
Hmm.
the second episode.
Yep.
Um, but it's very different than you would think the power dynamic would be between a superhero, Homelander, who's arguably the most powerful superhero that we've seen to date, that everybody sort of agrees on the show is the most powerful one. And
Yep.
this normal woman who, I mean, is I believe CEO of Vought,
Mhm.
or something high up enough to be basically running the show. And there's a weird dynamic where a VP, thank you, Alan. So she's the VP of Vought, and she, in their kind of tense exchange that they have in her office, she seems to be the one holding the power over
Mhm.
Homelander. Now, do I know what that is? Like, does she, like they're talking about like they're the superheroes are the property of this company and they're chipped and
Yep.
paid for and whatever. Does that chip also come with some sort of like device that can be set off, a la Suicide Squad, where you can just be blown up? Or, is that the power she has? Does she just have some sort of magnetism? Is he like attracted to her? Who knows? But
I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
it's
No,
an
I
interesting
think
like way to explore all of this. Who has
it's
power? Who
certainly
doesn't?
not right. It's certainly not like a one size blanket. It's you see
Mm,
the power struggles everywhere. You
yeah.
see those fights, those like pissing matches,
Mm,
all over the place. And yeah, I think that's realistic too. Like you can have someone just because you have someone that's really strong,
mm,
and could crush someone doesn't mean that they're going to treat, you know, um, Tim Cook poorly
right.
because Tim Cook wields a lot of power yet. He's just
Right.
a dude, you know.
Or I mean,
Um,
they might have a lot of physical power, but they're, still subject to emotional power abuses
yep.
or grabs or, manipulation kind of thing.
Yep. I mean, and what's your number one fear if you um, are corrupted by a power? It's losing that power.
Mhm.
And if you got someone that, I mean, we saw that with the Deep and
Yeah,
Starlight, right?
Starlight.
Right away, like those kinds of things where um, I lost where I was going with that. But yeah, you see more of these kind of power struggles here,
Hmm.
and like, oh, you could beat me up, maybe, but I'm going to threaten you because I can wreck your image, your reputation,
Right.
or whatever.
Exactly.
So the
Exactly.
vice president here could easily maybe like just not sign the paperwork for Homelander anymore. You're
Mhm.
done,
Yep.
you're out of here. Ruin your reputation.
Yep.
Do a little bit of a sting operation and take a
Hmm.
few pictures that are not favorable to you,
Exactly.
as we see as we
Yeah,
see later as well. So yeah, I think it's being handled smartly so far.
I agree.
Interesting, it's in an interesting manner,
Hmm.
um, and I think it's pretty realistic.
Hmm.
So what do we think of some of the other characters?
So, I mean, obviously we're introduced to superheroes right away, but we're also introduced right away to our main non-superhero character, um, Huey, who has
Son of
his
Simon Pegg.
Yes, Simon Pegg.
With an American accent.
It's very strange. It works. It's fine. I just can't get over
Not used
that.
to it.
Yeah, I just can't get over that voice coming out of Simon Pegg's mouth. And not that he's doing a bad job. It's just like, can you just please sound like Simon Pegg again? But yeah, so Huey, the son of Simon Pegg, has his girlfriend rather brutally murdered right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming at all. That was
Nope.
quite a shocking way to introduce us to the fact that superheroes are not all good all the time, as the superhero A-Train literally runs through her and kills her, just like smashes her, like eviscerates her right in front of him.
Yep.
And then he's just like left holding her hands. That was a very powerful moment and a great, I thought, cinematic moment. Like excellent camera work. Also great like use of slow motion because that was shocking and stunning.
Yep.
So
and foreshadows later events.
Yeah, indeed. Poor Huey. Yes, as Alan noted, played by Jack Quaid, son of Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I think he looks like
I've definitely seen him before. I could not tell you in what, but like his face was not entirely unrecognizable to me.
Okay.
So I'll have to
look.
To me,
looks like the guy from. He's in Waco and the Knives Out. Michael Shannon. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like he'd be his son. Am I saying that? Thinking that name right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that more in him.
Yeah.
I'm always reminded of that. But
well, Dennis. Oh my God! Totally. Thank you, Alan. Jack Quaid was in Hunger Games.
What was he in Hunger Games though?
Wasn't he Kato? Not Kato. The other one. What's his face? Marvel. Thank you. Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Right up there.
It's been too long since I've seen those. I don't know that at all.
Yeah. I knew I'd seen him before. I just could not place it. And that's totally why, because he was so much younger then. So I like knew his face vaguely and I was like, I know I've seen you somewhere, but he's definitely like grown up now. So
Alan says Wikipedia. You're supposed to just keep that secret, Alan. You just know it all. Know it all right away.
Alan's got Wikipedia up here.
Yep.
Anyways, so we're very dramatically introduced to our protagonist, who now has a reason to have a grudge against superheroes and a reason to kind of show society that they're not all good all the time.
Yep.
And we're introduced to him in very dramatic fashion. And I thought it was a really great way. I mean, it's obviously awful that his girlfriend is killed, but it's a great way to introduce that problem, introduce the whole like machinery of superheroes, as like a lawyer comes and they're like, oh, you need to sign this NDA, like it's a terrible tragedy, our condolences, blah blah blah. Very generic, like let's just smooth this over and pay you off and go away, because nobody needs to know the truth about superheroes. And it's very clear, I think, or at least intimated at, from this setup, that A-Train was not just like going to save the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this wasn't like, oh, he was in the midst of this, horrible fight and he had to go and a little kid was about to be, crushed to smithereens or whatever. It was just like oh my God, it just happened.
Yep.
So.
Yep. See, Starlight.
Mm-hmm.
She seems cool. She's how we get to view really the corruption involved with the superheroes. Mm-hmm. She's the innocent Midwest girl raised, to be, honest and hardworking and whatever, and then gets thrown into this seedy machine.
Yeah,
she's a superhero.
She's gonna make it big in the big city.
Yep. So not exactly a unique story in that way, but like an important Um,
A good
important,
twist.
or an important way for us to end here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
she was fun. Although I would have liked to see more, I think, of her like kind of growing up. I think that would have been
mm,
interesting to, kind of maybe see like how did she find out she had powers? How does she know what they are? And what
yeah,
maybe we'll get some flashbacks and maybe get like a beauty or a hero pageant or something.
yeah,
I
right.
think it would be really interesting to see what that looks like. We sort of get like a
Mhm.
quick training montage, but I think some more
Yep.
background would be fun.
I mean, how many walls is she gonna go through? He's just punching up
I
that one wall
know.
really good. Like, I
Her
mean,
dad is like right there, and I'm like, he has to repair that. Come on.
yeah, I don't know,
How many
but
spare cars can he buy for you to bench press in the backyard there?
yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of fun.
Um,
I mean, we obviously we through her get a very quick lesson in the fact that superheroes, not only kill people and aren't sorry about it, but they also do horrible, horrible things to each other, as
yep.
the Deep proves. Which, by the way, is a stupid name.
The deep, yeah. Hmm.
Deep is terrible. That is a stupid name.
Yep. And we get to see, it's one of those things where he comes in, hot shot, do what I say, threats everywhere.
Yeah.
And shortly, and not all that long later, we get to see him being threatened by Homelander.
Hmm.
And now he looks pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
It's so again, it's these tiers where, someone
Power
gets
games.
abused and they then are gonna like they need to feel that strength again and take it out on someone else.
Right.
And so the abuse in that way gets passed on
Hmm.
um, as well. So again, more
Absolutely.
layers to this kind of dynamic that we've got going on within this
Absolutely.
club. Um, Other humans, Carl
Hmm.
Urban. He
Ah.
looks like he belongs in the porn version of The Matrix.
Yes.
I liked that line. I thought that was funny. Um, but yeah, I always think Carl Urban is pretty awesome. He's
I
always
agree.
good in things, and he's bringing the same energy to
Hmm.
this. That's what
Yes.
he's always got. He's always got an energy to him,
Yes.
and
He's got an
he
energy and an
still has them.
intensity.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
For everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to see how he is evolving.
Right. I like him as our kind of, shepherd for poor clueless Huey, who's,
Yeah.
looking to get payback but has absolutely no idea how to go up against, superheroes. And here comes
Yep.
Carl Urban's Billy to kind of usher him into, all right, join the club and
Yep.
let's take down these superheroes. Um yeah, he's obviously going to be an important mentor, if not in the traditional sense, but in an abstract
Yeah.
sense for Huey. Um, and I also think, kind of one of the first things that he does besides, finding Huey is take him to this like superhero club where all the kind of superheroes hang out and
Oh, yeah.
can let off some steam. I think that's going to play an important role at some point, in kind of exposing who these superheroes are.
Hmm.
Because like he walks, Huey through the footage of, superheroes doing the exact opposite of what they say. Like the one guy who is like, oh, gays are terrible. And then he just like hooks up with a bunch of guys. Or, A-Train being like, oh my God, I just like ran through that chick. It was crazy. Bah, ha, ha. Like, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a glimpse into, these people are superheroes, but they're also really like politicians. They say
Hmm.
they do the right things to have the public, unofficially like elect them to be their heroes. And then in private, they just like trample all over, everything that they say that they stand for. So,
Yep. Yep. Well, and I don't remember which episode it's in now. But the with God, what's his name? A-Train going
mhm.
in place of um
Translucent.
yes,
Oh
in
my
the
God, that
hospital.
hospital scene is
That was
so
so
awkward.
awkward.
It was terrible. Oh my
very bad.
God. Yeah.
But it's one of those, yeah, it's you know, contractually obligated to be there,
Right.
doesn't want to be there,
Right.
just so self-absorbed.
Yes.
Um, it's just there's so
Oh
many
God.
sickening moments. They're really doing a good
Yes.
job of like this
Yes.
whole thing is gross.
Mm-hmm.
We get that in the second one with them, like you say, cities trying to buy um
Mm-hmm.
superhero, like, hey, we want to, and so we see that the breakdown of how a deal like that's coming through,
Right.
and to what lengths they'll go to get what they want,
Mm-hmm.
um, on all ends of the spectrum.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, kind of going back to that whole deal where the city of Baltimore is like, okay, we're gonna buy a superhero to police our streets and be safer and blah blah blah. And it's, I mean, it's very like backdoor wheeling and dealing, like blackmail, power struggles again between two humans over a superhero. And it introduces us to something again that I think will be important, which is Compound V, which is what the mayor of Baltimore uses to blackmail our vice president to vote to bring down the price on his superhero, his city
Yep.
superhero. So I was really fascinated by that whole conversation and
Yep.
what the heck Compound V is. It's something big enough to use as blackmail leverage, but then of course at the end we see as the mayor is flying back to Baltimore, Homelander comes up and just totally takes
Yep.
apart that plane and kills everyone on board
Yep.
because he's
Child
taking care of a
included.
threat, child included. Yeah. And I mean, I half expected it to be coming because even when they were walking through the club where Carl Urban is taking Jack Quaid like through there and saying like all these superheroes are total trash and they all have something blah 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 except for Homelander. I can't figure out
Yep.
anything on him.
Exactly.
And I was like, we're gonna find something on him really quickly. I know we are. And then here it
Yep.
was. He's the
Yep.
worst of them all. I mean, he's just like murdering whole planefuls of people because how dare they threaten them. So
Yep. Yeah, that
yeah.
whole negotiation was interesting. And it's the same thing again that I went to thought of it. Oh, this superhero, he fits your demographic, and we have these statistics here to
Right.
say like, whatever. And we see later how, oh, team ups, people love team ups. We have a
It's
whatever
all a
percentage of
photo op.
approval, if there's two people versus one, and like,
Yes.
just
It's such a
I know
business.
that's, yeah, yep. And yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just appreciating where this show is going and all those elements.
Yeah.
I
agree.
see. Yeah.
I think to close out the first episode, I mean, obviously our big closeout in that first episode is the fact that, Huey agrees to work with Carl Urban to go plant a bug in the tower so they can spy on the Seven, learn what they're, the Seven, the big superheroes, what they're actually doing. Gets caught by Translucent, who is just like a invisible bathroom creeper. Apparently, just loves that bathroom.
That's the stereotype of the invisible
Right?
person,
Right.
the invisible.
Really just nails that. Really lives up to that. So he sees what Huey does, and then follows them back to Huey's workplace and jumps him. And then in comes Carl Urban to save the day. And yeah, I was just really impressed by that fight scene, by Carl Urban's ingenuity in figuring out he can spit blood on Translucent so that he can like see his outline. Smart. But then also Huey figuring out, hey, this guy's skin is like made of carbon and like that's why he can reflect the light. So if I just zap him with the electricity, he's going down. So yeah, so that was like our big climax of the first episode. They apparently appear to have killed Translucent.
Right. Yep.
And then we're immediately greeted in the episode with like, he's alive.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah. So episode 2, what's that?
I was gonna say, it does of course raise the interesting question, about superheroes being killed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Sorry, episode 2.
No, we get the introduction of this other fixer guy, kind
Frenchie.
of
Yeah.
Frenchie. Yeah, and he's an interesting character. We get to a lot of people in here. They definitely seem a little layered. Like he's not obviously not a fan of Carl Urban's character. Yet they work together
Right.
from time to time.
Right.
I appreciated his story that he told Huey, kind of
Mm-hmm.
about his first kill. And I thought that was kind of creepy,
Yeah.
but well done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I so I didn't think I liked this character immediately. Like at first, he was like just aggressive or whatever. But
Mm.
again, more depth to him
Right.
than initially thought or whatever.
Right. Well, and to be fair, Carl Urban does bring a shit pile to his door.
Yeah.
I
right.
mean, just like, hey, here's like a maybe half dead superhero. Oh, he saw your face. You're in it. Thank you. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
So we get to see more of this kind of how the industry worked again, where they're given a crime, basically,
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
thing that's going to happen. Go to
Yeah.
this scene, be there, smile for the camera. They're immediately ready. And then
Yeah.
later, when Starlight actually takes out someone that's committing a crime, how dare you? It's the worst
Right.
thing, because now it's trouble. But that's, I mean, I suppose that's how they get away with having this all be legal and above board.
Right.
Because as opposed to, oh, well, don't worry, just trust our superheroes to do the right thing and to get
Mm-hmm.
people that are doing bad things. It's
Right.
no, we're going to like vet and know the crimes. We're basically setting up a sting operation all the
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
So when you go in, we're ready for the full evidence. They're in the process of the crime, and like
Mm-hmm.
we're there and ready.
Right.
And because otherwise,
Yeah.
what chaos would that be, honestly, if you
Right.
had this team of people running around just
Right.
stopping crime, but
Right.
then you'd have to go to trial every
Right.
time.
Well, and I mean, from a PR standpoint, you wouldn't be able to like set up your camera to get the optimal angle. And like, what if you miss something cool, like the deep dive into the ocean? Like, all you got was him,
Yep.
like, a splash, and like, oh, I just saw his toe in the water. Like, that's not cool. That's not like, the television
Yep.
people want to watch. So you got to
Yep.
like produce it all. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, it may be doing some good, but at what cost? I mean, you may be stopping crime, but like, is this really like the necessary way to do it? Like, ugh.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
if you want to, set up things where you know what's going to happen, you get the evidence beforehand, like you have investigative people or whatever doing
Mhm.
that, then that's fine. But you
Right.
also need to not discourage them from actually stopping violence or crime,
Right.
even if it's not all set up properly for
Right.
you.
Right. Well, and I mean,
So,
that's pretty much exactly the way the police work. You know what I mean? Like sometimes, like, in police work, you get like, I know the players, I know what's going down because I've got informants, whatever. Like,
yeah,
I can
it's an
figure out.
operation.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it's literally just like, oh my God, this is happening right now. We've just got to go, and it's not clean and it's
Yep.
not perfect. It's going to be messy, but it's still a crime. So,
Yep. Right.
yeah.
Exactly. One is a lot of work beforehand, so
Mhm.
your case is buttoned up when you
Right.
make the arrests, and the other is no, you need to try to mitigate damage or save people's lives or whatever.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
what else is interesting about this episode? We see a lot that they got their captive in a cage, electrified.
Yes. Yes. Very
Trying to
smart.
figure out how to kill him.
Yep. Yeah, they know obviously they have this very short window, because he is chipped. They're able to like block the signal for a while, but they know they can't do that forever. And of course, what if the other supernatural, I keep saying supernatural, superheroes, kind of come after and look for translucent, like they can't just fight off all of them. So they've got a timer on how much they can get out of translucent and how can they figure out how to kill him before that happens. So a well like set up and well paced episode for we got to keep this moving. We got to figure this out.
Yep.
And of course, we learn a little bit more about, Carl Urban's character. We get some background on him. Not only, we learn about Frenchie, but we learn that he was at Gitmo. So there's something there. He's not a Fed anymore.
Right.
That was my
contacts.
Right, because he visited his old boss. I can't remember which organization she's from. But there's clearly like CIA. Thank you. There's clearly an established working relationship there. So suggesting that he at some point worked for the CIA and now ? But
right.
Yeah. Yep. So we learn a little bit about him.
Yep. No, that's good. Did you think of a way to kill him? Translucent? I thought they'd maybe poison him.
Oh, nice. Okay.
He drank water before. Give him some more
sure.
water or something to drink,
Yeah.
I thought they were going to poison him.
Yeah, I mean, once so I have to say this quick. These people are so effing lucky that they watch TV, because TV is giving them all the answers. Like, first of all, in the first episode, Huey watches that Jimmy Fallon interview with Translucent where he talks about how his skin works. So he knows how, he's like, oh, he's going to conduct electricity because this is how this works. In this episode, they're so lucky that they have the TV on that Frenchie is just like, oh, he's like a turtle. Right, exactly. Like, always be watching TV, clearly, because it gives you the best ideas.
Yep.
But yeah, once he figures this out, he's like, oh, he's, got the protective shell. It's, hard on the outside, but you're just the same on the inside. Yeah, I mean, there were like a bunch of different ways I thought that they could take him out, but I did not see bomb up the ass coming.
Yeah. I think you're right. You hit it right on the head. If there's a message to this show, it's going to be watch more television.
That's right. Because it will give you the important clues you need for these crazy situations. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny that, that both of them just like happen to be watching the exact right thing on TV, and they're like, "Oh, aha, my light bulb."
Yep. Some of the interesting things to me in this are fun to watch, weird to watch. You had mentioned here, you wrote feeling this power struggle between Homelander and Madeline Stillwell. You kind of touched on that a bit ago, but like, what is that exactly? And to me, Homelander is so creepy. Like he pulls off a creepy very well. Yes. He's supposed to be the charming, charismatic guy or whatever.
Leader.
And no doubt that works, but he's still like I don't know I hope it's not just the actor. Like that's just the way he is, because if he's not, he's doing a really good job of just being weird and like awkwardly scary and stuff.
Yeah. I really feel like this relationship is going to be central in some fashion moving forward. And I can't tell. I mean, there was like a weird power struggle over, I think that Homelander just went rogue when he took care of the mayor of Baltimore. Like, unless they're doing some sort of coded doublespeak and she's not, willing to admit it even in her own building. But there was definitely like a weird power struggle there over, what he's authorized to do and what she needs to authorize him to do. And then there's like this weird, like, I don't know if it's sexual energy or like he looks at her as like a mother figure. I couldn't quite figure it. You know what I mean? There's this like just this vibe about her like breastfeeding, and he like checks her out, and then she's like, he like tells her she's leaking breast milk, and then later in the episode he's like staring her down through the walls as she pumps again. I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out, or if it's like some combo of the two, but it's something. There's something there that's driving his weird like obsessive tendencies with her.
I hadn't thought of the mother thing, but it could be. I thought it was, I went with the sexual thing, I guess. Yeah. Like he was talking about taking down the plane and stuff for her.
Right. Right. But I didn't know if it was like a Norman Bates kind of thing where it's, like a weird like mother, but also I kind of love you thing. you know,
Right.
I couldn't get a handle on where it was at because it was just, like you said, very creepy. And he plays that
Yep.
creepy vibe very well.
Yep. And I was like, man, do you not like your picture or something? Why are you just staring at your poster?
I know, I didn't get that at first either. I thought he was like having this like beautiful introspective moment of himself and like, you know,
Sure.
who
Yeah.
am
Yeah. Yeah.
I? Like, you know, what am
Yeah.
I doing? And then total creeper. Like I do like I do like the way that this show like subverts my expectations about,
Yep.
you know, superheroes and Homelander in particular. Like every time I think he's okay, he turns out to be just the absolute worst.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
I did also
Uh,
note that I almost felt bad for the Deep when he's in his team up with Starlight. Um, when he's like, "Oh, they just want me near the water, and I'm the fish guy, and like nobody cares about me and my
nah.
powers." And I was like, I would have felt bad for you because totally yes, like water people get the short end of the stick all the time. Like everybody makes fun of Aquaman, and I'm sure it's the same for you. And I would feel bad for you if you weren't such a skis ball. You know, like if we hadn't already noticed like you're a terrible person, I would have felt bad for you, but now I don't. Deep.
People might give the water people a hard time, but they have like avid defenders as well. I've
Oh,
defended
totally.
Aquaman for a long time now.
Right.
Like,
I'm not
oh,
saying
you
like
want to make
that's
fun of
my
Aquaman?
opinion,
Yeah, I know.
but
I just
I
like
totally get it.
he would have his hardcore fans, you
Yeah.
know. Look, Starlight was a fan. I actually
Right.
liked you more or whatever, you
Right.
know.
She's like, I didn't have the Homelander poster. I had you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, I would have felt bad for
So,
him because I totally get that. Like, on the whole, you know, they do tend to get the short end of the stick, but unfortunately, he's a total sleaze. So pass.
yep. And like you say, I mean, there's all sorts of abuse all over, you know, and
Hmm.
you can see how you know, he's put in his place pretty quickly by Homelander, you
Right.
know.
Exactly.
But and I like how Starlight puts him in his place too. Like,
Yeah. She
you
deserved
know,
that.
I like the effect of her eyes when they
Yeah.
glow. That's pretty cool. So she's like Krillin from Dragon Ball Z. He's solar flare all the time. And then just everybody's blind. It's perfect.
Right.
So I definitely was I felt the tension when Homelander was going out on his own looking for
Hmm.
his partner, and
Hmm.
they had to quickly think on their feet there and stuff. I
Yeah.
liked how they did that. And it was another one of those things. Again, Homelander comes up. He's like, "I need to look in." I think I wrote this
Hmm.
down.
Yeah.
And you look in the back of your vehicle, you know, and he
Yep.
said, "Well, do you have a warrant or something?" And he just basically laughs, like, you know, it's me. And
Right.
if you have nothing to hide,
Right.
then why do you care?
Which
And I
is
hear that
definitely it's fascism.
yeah, it's
Like
like
that's
I
how
hear
that
that stuff
works.
all the time. I hate that. I hate that
I do
line.
too.
Like,
Like
no, none of your
it's not
business.
exactly. It's not about like nothing to hide. It's literally mine, and that's why we have a law that says you need a warrant.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's yeah, that's how that works. So you don't just get to
Maybe
like
I
willy
have
nilly,
a collection of used Japanese panties that I'm
right?
embarrassed about, but
But
I
it's not
don't, so I don't want you to
illegal.
see them, but they're illegal, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
shove off. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, you're basically saying like I'm going to value judge. You know what I mean? Like this
Yep.
person gets to value judge what's ever back there, and like if you've got nothing to hide, well, again, that's you know that could mean a range of things. Like yeah, I could have something to hide, but that doesn't mean it's illegal. I'm entitled
Right.
to my privacy. So yeah, I agree. That was definitely like a moment where I was like, ugh, get out of here.
Yeah. But
So
again, another thing that we see happen in the real world and would definitely happen in the superhero world. So
yes, absolutely. Um, I thought that was a great you know 3-minute plan that they all pulled together there
yes.
to distract Homelander. That I was like, how are they going to do this? Like, what are they
Mhm.
going to do? Like, are they just going to try to distract him? Like, you know, but blowing up an entire building to distract him from Translucent getting blown up was very genius.
Yep.
Also,
Well,
Huey pulled that trigger.
I know. Yep. That was good. I'm glad, because
I am too.
it's like it. You'd said earlier in your notes, this reminds you, or in a way, of My Hero Academia, just in like one element or whatever. But it's you don't want your protagonists to be pathetic for too long. Anime does this all the time, and they drag it out or whatever. So, like, obviously, it's very realistic that Huey would have problems, difficulties doing this stuff, getting involved, all that.
Yeah.
But you want to see them rise to the occasion, and they need to pace that out well. And I think that him pulling the trigger here is, he didn't couldn't do it, and someone else grabs it and does it just in time or something,
Right.
He went through with it. So
yeah, I mean, I half expected Carl Urban to be back, or Frenchie to just quick get in there and push the button or something. But like you said, I'm glad that Huey did it. I'm glad that he was like, no, I gotta step in this fight here, because he has a stake in it. I mean, obviously, Translucent was obviously lying. Like, he wasn't going to go back and be like, this guy saved me. He was definitely going to go be like, Homelander, let's go fuck up these people.
Fry these guys. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that was the right call on Huey's part.
Yep.
Yeah. And like you said, I'm glad that, he wasn't inactive for too long. But I also think it's part of whatever sort of clues we're getting about his maybe anxiety / rage issues that he clearly has, where he just sort of kind of starts shaking, and he's got this white noise, and just kind of drifts off, and has these strong emotional reactions. I can't quite tell if it's anxiety or rage, or possibly a combination of both, but again, something I think we'll continue to see throughout the season.
Yep. This show so far is set up for me in other ways too. Like, I love superheroes, but I also really love an underdog story. I mean, I know that's not uncommon or whatever, but that's why I often love something that's man versus nature. Nature overpowers. So it's like Jurassic Park. You gotta survive against, these crazy beasts or whatever, And so or why I like someone like Master Roshi, or the old wise master in something. They're old and they're wizened, but they're past their prime. And then so when they have to go in and show people the young whippersnapper who's boss, I like that. And so here we have non-powered people that are definitely have the odds stacked against them here, in this not only these superheroes, but also in this corporate entity. That they're in major trouble if they do something. So
I like several I agree, I like several elements about this as well, including these sort of raised stakes that we have, in terms of when you go up against a superhero, you can't just go up against them, you have to kill them. You know what I mean? There's no half measures, it seems. That you kind of have to just go all in, and this is kind of your only option, because if you go halfway, you're going to be the victim instead. So there's no negotiation, and I like this another sort of classic element, that big mysterious corporation that's set up and runs things, and how did it get set up, how is this the company, who founded it, how did Madeline Stillwell get to be the VP? Where does she come from? What's her story? And, how does she keep the cogs turning? Who does she answer to within the company? All kind of things that I think we'll get to continue to explore.
Yep. And their play with the military now. I mean, that was a big, was the big side plot here. I mean, with the negotiations and all that, the framing of the congressman. It's
classic.
Yeah,
definitely plot line with a twist, though.
Right, exactly. Yep. But it's I wonder if they'll explore that more. I mean, I know they talked about, well, how will they, other countries respond then? Will they respond with nukes or something,
Right.
So do you really want your people, your weapons on the front lines here? I don't know.
Well, and I mean, I think, and also an interesting question is, how will other countries respond with nukes so they don't have superheroes of their own?
I
America is
know,
the
right?
only place with
Exactly.
superheroes. Like that's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or is it just that we have a concentration? Is everybody moving to America because they want to be part of this, factory system, or there are superheroes around the world that,
Right.
people just don't know about? That's
Yep.
definitely something to be explored as well.
Exactly. So I wonder how large in scope this will get,
Yeah.
because obviously those things are complications to a show,
Right.
and sometimes things spiral out of control when
Right.
you try to get to such a big
Scale.
picture.
Yeah.
But they brought it up in episodes 1 or 2 at least, so
Yeah.
we'll see where it's got to go somewhere.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, one other quick thing I want to note before we wrap it up. We do also get a very interesting glimpse, and it's very brief, but again, I think something that will be significant, of Huey meeting Starlight, as
Yeah,
he's trying to deal with
I
everything.
like
And
that.
it is, yeah, I mean, it's such a short part of these 2 episodes, but again, I think significant because it's a very classic, like, two people on opposite sides kind of don't know they're on
Yes.
opposite sides. They're going to be forming a friendship, it seems like. And
Yep.
what will happen once they finally recognize each other or come face to face or have to,
Yep. Meet on the
meet.
battlefield.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, so I think this will also be a very pivotal relationship moving forward. But it was nice to see them both kind of connect with another human being that wasn't, sort of a tense connection or solely related to their issues. They were just sort of able
Yep.
to connect with each other and like have a beat, have a moment in this park together and kind of talk things out.
Yep.
So, I mean, it does remind you that it's not like all action all the time, and people do need moments to like process their feelings and make connections with other people, even if it's, seemingly the most unlikely of connections.
Psh, feelings processing.
Blow people up.
Yeah.
Stick stuff up their butts and blow them up.
All right. Well, you seem like you like the show.
I do.
So
I very much
far.
like it. Yeah.
Yep, I like it as well. So let's keep it going and try to get it finished in time for season 2. Hopefully, it maintains this strong momentum we've got going.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't have any really final thoughts. There'll be plenty of time to, if we forgot about something, to bring it up next week.
That's right.
So that's been your spoiler cast for The Boys, season 1, episodes 1 and 2.
Yes.
If you're like just gonna tune in now, or somehow you got the end of this episode or something, and you don't know what's going on here, you should follow us on all the applicable social media things. So Twitter and Facebook, and check out our website, like us here on Twitch, and share our videos on YouTube, all that sorts of fun things. We'd like to thank Killing the Flower for our theme song. You can check them out on Spotify and their Instagram account. And then we'll be back later this week with I should stop calling full episodes. Most of them are full episodes. Regular episode. Normal episode. Yeah. And so tune in for that. And next Wednesday, back here again. Most likely, unless we update you otherwise, we'll be continuing with the boys. So
sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me again, Andrea. And good night, everyone.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.